Luca stared in agony at his twin sister who was being abused because of his weakness, because of his disability and inability to fight for himself. Mia had taken off her singlet. She was about to show the bullies what they wanted, when she heard her brother cry out. "Mia!" Luca screamed. "Don't do it!" Mia and her disabled twin brother Luca stood in front of their new school building, the prestigious Victory High College, a school for the elite and the wealthy. Mia had a bad feeling about attending this school, and her gut instinct screamed that something wasn't right. Their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Olabodi, stood at a distance, waving them off with hopeful smiles. But behind those smiles was the desperation of a family drowning in poverty. Just days earlier, Mr. and Mrs. Olabodi, in their frustration over their impoverished situation, had joined a church known as the OOO. Unlike any regular church, this one was infamous for turning its followers into overnight millionaires by giving them miracle money. The church was led by a charismatic figure, Prophet Isaiah, a man revered like a god by the congregation. The prophet had offered the twins scholarships to attend the Victory High College, as a token given to the children of devoted new members. Luca, who had been born disabled, was filled with gratitude for the opportunity. He had always prayed for a better educational path where he could showcase his intellect. But Mia was suspicious of the church's extreme generosity. She didn't share her brother's excitement. She had never wanted to leave her old religion and follow this new path her parents had been swayed into, all in the name of escaping poverty. Yet, under her parents' insistence, she had no choice. The uniforms had been delivered, and the twins were ready to start. That Monday morning, they stepped into Victory High, but Mia couldn't shake the unease brewing in her heart. The gut feeling in Mia's mind, it truly may have been a signal, an innate warning that something, maybe alarming, was indeed hiding behind the glamour, waiting to be revealed in time. As Mia and her twin walked down the school corridor, they were met with judgmental stares from the wealthy students. Mia held Luca close, whispering for him to keep his head high and not let their gazes affect him. Luca, due to his disability, suffered from a crippling low self-esteem. He often felt less than others, and Mia had always been his pillar of strength, reminding him of his worth. The first sign of trouble came when Mia and Luca were placed in separate classes, Mia in SS1A and Luca in SS1B. Fear gnawed at Mia as she worried about how her vulnerable brother would fare without her by his side. Her fears were well-founded. In Luca's class, he was met with cruel stares from students who saw him as an easy target because of his crutches. Two boys, Elijah and Oliver, stood out, their eyes lingering on him with malicious intent. As the days passed, Mia's anxiety for her brother grew. She had heard rumors of bullying in the school and hoped they were just that, rumors. But with Luca, it was different. His disability made him a target wherever he went, and Mia feared this new school would be even worse. Luca, however, was intelligent, especially when it came to mathematics, and soon his brilliance began to shine through in class. A girl named Emily, the most pretty student and star of the class, gravitated towards Luca, seeking his help with schoolwork. This newfound closeness sparked jealousy in Elijah, who had long harbored feelings for Emily. He swung into deep jealousy, watching the girl he was obsessed with, giving her attention to a guy in the class that was not him. Elijah, along with his sidekick Oliver, decided to teach Luca a lesson. One day, while Luca was in the boys' bathroom, Elijah and Oliver followed him in. They cornered him, accusing him of trying to steal Emily from Elijah. Despite Luca's protests that he was only helping her with her schoolwork, the bullies refused to listen. "What do we do to any guy who messes with my girl?" Elijah asked his friend. "We teach them a lesson," Oliver said to Elijah, smiling mischievously. The two boys stripped Luca off his clothes and his pants, forcing him to stand naked as they recorded him with their phones. Luca begged them to stop, sobbing as he pleaded for mercy, but they only laughed, relishing in his humiliation. The video was shared with the entire school. All the students watched Luca on their phones. As Luca walked back to his class, the students' laughter and mocking whispers cut him deeper than any physical blow. He was poor, disabled, and now utterly humiliated. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he swallowed them down, trying to maintain a shred of dignity. When Mia found out what had happened, Fury coursed through her veins. She stormed into the principal's office and demanded justice. The head teacher promised to deal with the boys, giving them a stern warning, but Elijah and Oliver were far from remorseful. They returned to class, glaring at Luca with renewed hatred, determined to make him pay for daring to report them. At the end of the school day, Mia helped Luca with his crutches, making sure to walk proudly beside him so everyone would see that he wasn't alone. When they got home, Mia held her brother as they cried together. His pain was hers. She consoled him, reminding him of his worth despite the cruelty of others. "They can't dim your light," she whispered through her tears. "You are a star, no matter what. Everything will be okay." But deep down, Mia knew that this was only the beginning. The school's glamorous facade hid something far darker, and she feared the worst was yet to come. Back at school after a few weeks, Luca sat in the school garden, sipping on a bottle of juice, lost in sad thoughts. The memories of the bullying still haunted him, and the absence of Emily weighed heavily on his mind. Before she left, she had apologized to Luca, explaining that she had transferred to another school to escape Elijah's relentless harassment. Her departure left Luca feeling more alone than ever. As he sat there, his solitude was abruptly shattered when Elijah and Oliver approached once again, their faces filled with anger. "You think you can go to the head teacher and ruin everything for us?" Elijah spat, glaring at Luca. "And you made Emily leave. This is all your fault." Luca, as always, found himself speechless in their presence. Before he could utter a word, Elijah snatched the juice bottle from his hand, took a sip, and spat some back into the bottle. He held the tainted bottle in front of Luca's face. "Drink it," Elijah commanded, his voice cold and menacing, "or I'll break your legs even more." Luca's hands shook as he took the bottle back, his eyes wide with fear. He was about to drink the contaminated juice, feeling utterly powerless, when suddenly, a brown sandal came flying through the air, hitting Elijah squarely on the head. Startled, Elijah turned around, his eyes widening in shock. Mia stood behind him, her face red with anger. She glared at the boys, her voice unwavering as she shouted, "Leave my brother alone!" Elijah stared at her, stunned. No one had ever dared to stand up to him, let alone a girl. "You've got guts, but you're gonna regret this," he snarled, stepping toward Mia, daring her to fight. But Mia didn't flinch. She stepped forward, her eyes locked on Elijah's. "I'm not afraid of you. If you want to fight, let's do it." Enraged, Elijah raised his fist, about to land a brutal blow on Mia, when a voice called out from behind, "Elijah!" It was Liam and Theodore, the senior school prefects. They marched over, their presence authoritative. "What do you think you're doing? Leave them alone now." Elijah's face flushed with anger, but he wasn't about to challenge the prefects. He and Oliver turned and stormed off, but not before Elijah muttered a threat under his breath. "This isn't over." Mia exhaled, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She turned to Liam and Theodore. "Thank you," she said, her voice a mix of relief and gratitude. "Anytime," Liam replied. "Don't let him scare you. If you need help, just call us." Mia nodded, watching them walk away before turning to Luca. He was trembling, tears welling up in his eyes. She wrapped her arms around him, trying to offer comfort, but the weight of the situation was too much for either of them. "Be strong," she whispered, holding him close. "We'll get through this. Senior secondary school will be over soon. It'll all end soon." But Luca couldn't hold back his tears. He sobbed into his sister's shoulder, the overwhelming burden of pain and humiliation finally breaking through his fragile defenses. When they got home that day, Mia wasted no time. She called her brother into their small room, kneeling on the floor with him as they prayed together. With no other way out of their torment, they turned to God, pleading for help. But their prayer was cut short when Mr. and Mrs. Olabode burst into the room, their faces contorted with anger. Their father's voice boomed through the small space. "What are you doing?" Mr. Olabode shouted, his eyes filled with fury. "Why are you not praying to our God?" he thundered. "Haven't I told you to pray to our new Jesus of the OOO?" Mia looked up at her father, trying to explain. "Dad, Luca is being bullied at school. It's really bad and the school is—" "Enough," her mother interrupted. "Stop making excuses. We know you never wanted to go to the school or the church. You've always hated it." Mia's heart sank. They didn't believe her. They didn't care. She could see now that her parents were blinded by the church and the promises of wealth the prophet had made to them. She didn't know that behind their devotion to the OO was more than just faith. It was greed. Prophet Isaiah had been giving Mr. and Mrs. Olabode money and support, promising them that if they remained loyal, they would be elevated to the coveted, elite members of the church. They were so close to financial freedom, and they weren't about to let anything jeopardize their place in the prophet's good graces, not even their own children's suffering. And so, Mr. and Mrs. Olabode refused to listen. They dismissed their children's pleas, forcing them to continue attending the church and the free school, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, one day at the church, Mia and Luca were approached by Mr. Isaac, a recent convert. He noticed their solemn expressions during daily church services and approached them with concern as they sat waiting for their parents at the church garden. "Why do you both always look so sad?" he asked. Mia hesitated, unsure of how much to say. "We're just not happy here," she eventually admitted. "We're being forced to come." Mr. Isaac frowned, trying to find out if the church had wronged them in any way, but quickly he reassured them. "The church is good. You'll see its benefits in time." Mr. Isaac was among the new members vying for acceptance into the church's elite group, alongside Mr. Toyosi. Though both were financially stable, they believed that joining this exclusive circle would elevate them to unimaginable wealth. Competing fiercely for the prophet's favor, they, like many others, were ready to do anything to prove their loyalty and secure their place among the chosen. But what none of them realized was the dark truth lurking behind the church's facade. For years, the police had been investigating the OUO. It wasn't a church, it was a front for a secret cult. And the promised wealth? It came from selling human organs on the black market to hospital patients who need new organ transplants. They sold these body parts for thousands of dollars, staking up millions in secret into their pockets. Every year, the so-called elite members made their selections, choosing which unlucky children from the church would become their next victims. This year, their target was Luca. "They want money," Prophet Isaiah had told his inner circle. "We take one of their children, the disabled boy. He's already useless to them. In return, we give his father what he wants, money and a place in the elite." The prophet's words sealed Luca's fate, but Mr. and Mrs. Olabode had no idea. They were too blinded by the promises of wealth, unable to see the nightmare they were walking into. And so, the gears of the cult continued to turn, fueled by greed, deception, and the blood of innocent victims. No one suspected a thing, not the worshippers, not the police. No one noticed the disappearances, the strange deaths that took place in the church. It was all part of the game. A game Mia and Luca were now caught in. The so-called prophet had succeeded in establishing his own empire for human organ extraction, disguising it as an impenetrable secret cult under the guise of a Bible-believing church. In reality, they worshipped a different god altogether. The blood of their victims was mixed with miracle water and bracelets sold to church members. As each member unknowingly used these contaminated materials, they entered into a covenant to serve the true deity of the church, not the one they were led to believe in. The more they used the water and bracelets, the more they became hypnotized, trapped in a cycle from which they could not escape. Mr. and Mrs. Olabode were just two more of the many victims ensnared in this dark web. Mr. and Mrs. Olabode continued to force their children to attend the church against their will, blaming Mia for being a tool of the devil, trying to spoil their chances with the prophet. But despite their intimidation, Mia secretly prayed to Jesus each night while her parents slept. After some weeks at school, one day during lunch break, Mia stepped out to grab some milk. On her way back from the cafeteria, a chilling cry from the rooftop froze her in her tracks. Lifting her eyes, she saw her brother, Luca, being mercilessly beaten. Panic surged through her as she raced through the hallways, desperate to reach him. In her frantic run, she collided with Liam and Theodore, the school prefects who had helped her before. With tears streaming down her face, Mia pleaded for their help once more. But this time, Theodore hesitated, his father's political ambitions weighing heavily on him. He had been warned by his father to stay away from any scandal involving Elijah, whose wealthy father had deep influence over his upcoming election. Theodore feared the repercussions of standing against the bullies. Liam tried to talk Theodore out of his decision, urging him to stand for the truth and justice. But Theodore shamefully turned away. He was going to heed his father's warning and not involve himself in other people's business any longer. However, despite all of this, Liam could not let Mia down. He followed Mia regardless, to the rooftop, determined to help. Upon reaching the rooftop, they found Luca sitting on the ground, already battered and bruised. Liam yelled at Elijah and Oliver to stop, but they only laughed, dismissing him as a mere prefect. Theodore the rich kid was not with him this time around, and the bullies had no real reverence for the orphan boy prefect who was privileged to be in their school on a mere scholarship. Elijah and Oliver, his sidekick, were ready to fight. Unrelenting, Liam charged forward to confront them both. But Elijah was prepared, quickly spraying Liam in the eyes with pepper spray, leaving him vulnerable on the floor, wailing in pain and unable to see. Seeing both her brother and Liam in pain, Mia pleaded with Elijah and Oliver to stop. But the bullies only saw an opportunity. Elijah told Mia that if she wanted to save her brother, she had to take off her shirt for them to see, as a punishment for disrespecting them weeks earlier. Mia was shaking. "You want me to take off my shirt?" she asked with tears in her eyes. The two boys insisted. They were not joking. Mia stared at her helpless brother and Liam on the floor. The bullies were about to resume beating up Luca again when she failed to what they asked. Okay, I'll do it," Mia said. "But promise that you will never hurt my brother again," she pleaded. The boys agreed. And so tearfully and with shaking hands, Mia started to slowly open up her shirt button. Luca stared in agony at his twin sister who was being abused because of his weakness, because of his disability and inability to fight for himself. Mia had taken off her singlet. She was about to show the bullies what they wanted when she heard her brother cry out, "Mia!" Luca screamed, "Don't do it!" In that moment, overwhelmed by despair and helplessness, Luca had made a choice. He stepped toward the edge of the rooftop. "You can leave my sister alone now," he said softly. Turning to Mia, he added, "I'm sorry." Before Mia could reach him, Luca leapt from the rooftop. "Luca!" Mia screamed, her heart shattering as she fell to her knees, wailing in agony. As Luca lay on the ground, drawing his last breath, he felt a strange relief. He didn't want to survive. He wanted his sister to be free from the torment he brought into her life. The bullies fled the scene, their laughter echoing as they vanished into the distance. Just then, Theodore came running to the rooftop, but it was already too late. The worst had happened. The news of Luca's death spread like wildfire. Liam, innocent and trapped, was arrested, while Elijah's father used his influence to cover up the crime, making a brief phone call to the school to change their report and get rid of any eyewitness. The court case loomed, and with it, the weight of injustice grew heavier. Mia was confined to her room, suspended from school. Her parents, gripped by fear and belief in the prophet's ominous prophecy, locked her away, terrified of losing their only remaining child, according to what the prophet had told them, following the untimely death of Luca. Alone in her room, Mia wailed for her twin, feeling as though half of her had died with him. She was not allowed to speak up, not allowed to seek justice, leaving only Theodore as the solitary witness. As the court date approached, Mia poured her heart into letters for Liam, telling him of how she was locked away in her room. She vowed to get out and help him escape. Meanwhile, Theodore wrestled with his own guilt in his home. He wrote to Liam, seeking forgiveness for his failure to act. He had promised Liam that a court trial was going to be held soon. He was going to come in as a witness, and he was not going to let Liam rot in jail. As Liam sat alone in his prison cell, he read the letters from Mia and Theodore, each word igniting a glimmer of hope within him. Though his future seemed bleak, their unwavering support reminded him that he was not entirely alone. Meanwhile, at Theodore's house, his father anxiously urged him to stay silent during the trial. "Please, don't testify against Elijah," he pleaded. "Just hold on until after the election. I cannot afford for Elijah's father to withdraw his financial support for my campaign. It's our only way out." He promised Theodore that once he secured his victory and gets into power, he would find a way to get Liam out of jail. The day of the court hearing arrived, tension thick in the air. Liam, the accused, sat before the judge, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on him. The judge read the accusations of murder, each word a nail in Liam's coffin. As the judge called for witnesses, Liam's heart raced. He scanned the crowd, desperately searching for Theodore, but to his dismay, no one stood up. As the minutes ticked by, Liam stared desperately at the court door, praying for it to open, hoping against hope that his friend was merely delayed by traffic and he would rush in any minute from now to save him, but the door remained shut. When the time for his defense passed, shock pierced Liam's heart as Elijah stood up at the podium. He twisted the narrative, claiming that Liam was the bully who had pushed Luca off the rooftop. The courtroom erupted in whispers as Elijah painted himself as the victim, while shrouding Liam in guilt. Life imprisonment, the judge pronounced, sealing Liam's fate. As Liam was led away, despair engulfed him. He turned one last time to face Elijah, whose grin spoke volumes of the betrayal. Elijah had played him perfectly, and now he would pay the price for a crime he didn't commit. In the cold, stark prison walls, Liam's future felt dead and buried, as he wallowed in agony over the years of pain he would endure in prison. Outside, Mia heard the news and was consumed by grief. She cried herself to sleep, knowing she had to fight not only for her brother but also for Liam, for justice. That seemed out of reach. With each tear that fell, she vowed to end the cycle of pain, to confront the darkness that had stolen so much from them. Back at the church, the cult members faced a chilling decision. With Luca, the chosen one, gone, they needed a replacement. Mia. They craved fresh organs for their sinister trade and had to act quickly. The prophet convinced Mia's parents that their daughter required spiritual protection, insisting it was time for her to be baptized and initiated into the church as a disciple. It was the only way to shield her from the dark forces that had claimed Luca. Panicked and desperate to save their daughter, her parents believed every word. Her mother pleaded, "Please don't argue, Mia. We're doing this for your safety. We can't lose you too." Trapped in a web of fear and manipulation, Mia realized she had no choice. The promise of escape from weeks of confinement now hinged on her submission. That night, alone in her room, she whispered fervent prayers to God, pleading for an escape, for justice for Luca, for any hope in her darkening world. On the day of her baptism, the church pulsed with anticipation. As the service drew to a close, Mia's parents were called forward to surrender their daughter. They received a handful of money as compensation, and when Mia was summoned, a flicker of defiance ignited within her. To everyone's shock, she declared, "I do not want to be a disciple." Her father's face twisted with rage. "Don't disgrace us," he shouted, desperation clouding his judgment. They rushed to convince the priest that Mia was merely confused, that she was eager to serve. Helpless and overwhelmed, Mia was led away to the baptismal waters, tears brimming in her eyes as the priest submerged her, surrendering her to a God she did not recognize. After the service, Mia found herself locked in a dim room, consumed by a chilling loneliness. Fear clawed at her heart. "What kind of parents abandon their child?" she cried, her voice echoing in the emptiness. Outside the church that day, Mr. Isaac seethed, thwarted by Mr. Toyosi, who had ingratiated himself with the prophet to secure a spot among the church's elite. Today was to be Toyosi's coronation, but fate intervened. His car had broken down, leaving him stranded. The cult, furious at this disruption, swiftly turned to Mr. Isaac, summoning him as a replacement. Little did he know, he was stepping into a pact from which there would be no escape. Back at the Olabodi's home, Mia's parents reveled in their perceived fortune, grateful that their child had been chosen. The prophet had assured them that Mr. Olabode would ascend swiftly within the church hierarchy, promising wealth and power beyond their dreams. They celebrated, blissfully unaware of the terrible price that awaited them. In her confinement, Mia felt a sinister presence as a strange woman entered with pills and water. Reluctantly, she was forced to swallow them, and soon after, her world faded to black. As Mia lay unconscious, the cult prepared for their horrific ritual. Mr. Isaac was ushered by the cult members through a concealed tunnel behind the church, a damp and shadowy passage that seemed to whisper secrets of dread. As they emerged into the dense forest, a sense of foreboding enveloped him. The air was thick with the smell of moss and decay, and the towering trees loomed like silent sentinels. Though Mr. Isaac had never encountered anything like this before, determination burned within him. Whatever awaited him in the depths of the forest, he was resolved to face it head-on. Driven by a desperate hunger for wealth and status, he steeled himself, vowing to do whatever it took to claim the power he sought. But as he ventured deeper, a nagging doubt began to creep in. What sacrifices would truly be required for his ambition? As the priest trudged through the dense forest, carrying Mia's unconscious form, she stirred momentarily, her vision blurring. "Where are you taking me?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. But the priest remained silent, his grip unyielding as they pressed onward. Panic surged within her. She fought against her paralyzed body, her mind screaming for help, praying to God to intervene. Was this the end? As darkness closed in again, Mia felt herself slipping away, the chilling certainty of her fate weighing heavily upon her. The shadows of the forest whispered ominous secrets. What horrors awaited Mia in that hidden chamber, and what would it take to reclaim her life? As the night held its breath, the fate of Mia hung precariously in the balance, her trapped soul begging, desperately, for a resolution. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to turn on your notification button so you don't miss out on any of our videos. Please like, share, and leave a comment for us. To all my amazing viewers, I love you. Stay blessed, and I'll see you in our next story.